Hello, my dears. How are you feeling today? Have you ever noticed that your body, especially your legs, starts sending you some strange signals? Maybe a sudden weakness when you simply stand up from a chair, or a fleeting numbness that you brush off, thinking, my leg just fell asleep or it's just age. We often do that, don't we? Blaming it on fatigue, the weather, the years. But what if I told you that sometimes our legs are like a sensitive barometer that can predict an impending storm in our body, namely, a stroke? Yes, exactly like that. The fact is, problems with blood circulation or nerve signals coming from the brain often manifest first, right there, down below, in our legs. It's as if the main dispatcher, our brain, started experiencing difficulties, and the most distant stations, our limbs, are the first to know. And do you know what worsens the risk? Some of our habits that seem harmless. For example, an excessive love for salty food, which thickens the blood like honey in the cold, or a sedentary lifestyle, turning our blood vessels into stagnant ponds instead of rushing rivers. But don't be alarmed. I'm not here to frighten you. On the contrary, I want to share knowledge with you that will help you recognize these quiet signals in time. We will discuss 6 important signs in the legs, and I promise, after our talk, you will feel more confident, knowing what to look out for. And most importantly, you will learn about the 5th sign, which many, unfortunately, ignore, even though it can be critically important. All the advice will be simple and understandable. Stay with me until the end. This is truly important for your health and peace of mind. And the first signal that can be such an alarming bell is sudden, unexplained numbness or weakness in one leg. Like you were just walking, and suddenly your leg felt like cotton wool, unresponsive, or you woke up, and one foot feels completely numb. Important. This often happens only on one side of the body. Let me tell you John's story. John was 68 years old. He always considered himself a strong man, albeit with age-related ailments. One morning, he felt that his left leg had become somewhat weak, not as strong as the right. He attributed it to sleeping awkwardly. It'll pass, he thought, but the weakness didn't go away for several days. Sometimes it intensified, sometimes it almost disappeared. John's wife, Mary, was worried, but John brushed it off. Getting old is no fun, dear. Inside, of course, he felt anxious. He was used to being the family's support, strong, and here was some incomprehensible weakness. It scared him, made him feel vulnerable. He was afraid to go to the doctor. What if they found something serious? It was easier to pretend nothing special was happening, but Mary insisted, and how good it was that she did. The doctor, after listening to John and conducting an examination, found signs of a transient ischemic attack, TIA, or as it's commonly called, a mini-stroke. It turned out this weakness in his leg was the first warning bell. Why on one side? Because each half of the brain controls the opposite side of the body. A problem in the left hemisphere causes symptoms on the right, and vice versa. John was prescribed therapy to improve blood flow and prevent clots. Do you know what changed? Not only did he avoid a major stroke, he stopped being afraid of every new sensation in his body. He realized that taking care of himself is not weakness, but responsibility. He felt in control of his life again. This weakness in his leg was like a small warning light on a car's dashboard, a signal that it's time for service before a major breakdown occurs. Ignoring it is like closing your eyes to a crack in the foundation of a house. Listen to your body. If you notice such sudden, unilateral weakness or numbness, don't wait, consult a doctor. This is your chance to prevent disaster. Besides this kind of weakness or numbness, which can come and go, there are other changes in how we move that need attention. For example, if you suddenly start noticing difficulty walking, dizziness, loss of balance or coordination, perhaps you've started stumbling on flat ground or feeling unsteady, as if the ground is shifting beneath your feet. Maybe dizziness has appeared, especially with movement. This isn't just clumsiness. It could be related to the part of the brain responsible for coordination and balance, the cerebellum. Let's recall the story of Mary, not John's wife, another Mary. She was 72 years old, lived alone, and was very proud of her independence. She loved walking in the park, going shopping. But recently, she started noticing that sometimes while walking, she would suddenly veer to the side, and a couple of times she almost fell, feeling a sudden sharp dizziness. At first, she thought it was because of her new glasses. Then, maybe her blood pressure was fluctuating, or her blood sugar dropped. She felt confused and scared of falling, getting injured, scared of losing her independence, becoming a burden to her children. She tried to walk slower, holding onto walls, but this only increased her sense of helplessness. She was ashamed to admit it even to herself. It was like your trusty compass suddenly started giving wrong directions and you don't know where to go. Fortunately, her daughter visiting her noticed her mother's unsteady gait. Gently but firmly, she persuaded Mary to see a doctor. The examination showed that Mary had problems with blood supply to the very area of the brain responsible for balance. It wasn't a stroke yet, but it was a serious warning sign. She was prescribed treatment and recommended special exercises. And do you know what happened? Gradually, the dizziness became less frequent, her gait more confident. But most importantly, the fear disappeared. Mary started enjoying her walks again. She realized that her body is a complex mechanism, and if something goes wrong, it's not a reason for shame, but a reason to seek help from a mechanic. Our balance is like a finely tuned musical instrument. If it suddenly starts playing out of tune for no apparent reason, we need to check if everything is okay with it. Don't ignore sudden problems with walking or coordination. It could be an SOS signal from your brain. But sometimes the warning doesn't come through an unsteady gait, but as a very sharp and frightening symptom. I'm talking about a sudden, severe headache, possibly accompanied by symptoms in the legs or arms. Such pain requires immediate attention. It's often described as the worst headache of my life or a thunderclap headache. And what's especially important in our context, if this terrible headache is accompanied by weakness, numbness, or tingling in the leg. Listen to David's story. He was 65 years old, an active retiree who loved working in the garden. One afternoon, as he bent down to pick up a watering can, such a sharp, unbearable pain shot through his head. Unlike anything he had ever experienced before, he even cried out. Simultaneously, he felt his right leg become heavy, unresponsive, and a strange tingling sensation appeared in it. David's first thought was, "It's probably just a terrible migraine, or my pressure spiked." He had suffered from headaches before, but never this severe. He just wanted to lie down, take a pill, and wait for it to pass. He felt shattered, scared, but the thought of calling an ambulance seemed excessive. "It's inconvenient to bother doctors over trifles," flashed through his mind. Fortunately, his wife, hearing his cry, ran in and saw his condition. Pale face, complaining of unbearable pain, and the strange behavior of his leg. She didn't listen to his pleas to lie down and immediately called emergency services. At the hospital, it turned out that David had suffered a small brain hemorrhage, a hemorrhagic stroke. Thanks to his wife's quick reaction and timely medical help, catastrophic consequences were avoided. David later said that this headache was unlike anything else. It was like an explosion inside his skull, and the leg, it felt alien. This experience taught him and his family one important rule: a sudden thunderclap headache, especially combined with neurological symptoms like weakness or numbness in the limbs, is an absolute reason for immediately calling emergency services, 911 or 112. This is not a situation where you can wait. Imagine it's the siren of a fire truck racing towards your house. You can't ignore it. Don't risk your health and life. Fortunately, such dramatic manifestations are not the only way the body signals problems with blood vessels. Sometimes the signs are more mundane, but no less important. Have you paid attention to how your legs behave when walking? I mean pain or cramps in the calf when walking, which subsides with rest. This sign might not seem so scary, but it is an important indicator of vascular problems that increase the risk of stroke. Pain, cramps, or severe fatigue in the calf muscles that appear when walking, especially uphill or upstairs, and disappear after a short rest. This is called intermittent claudication and is often a symptom of peripheral artery disease, PAD. Let's meet Susan. She was 70 years old, adored her garden, and spent a lot of time there. But over the last year, she started noticing that when walking around her property, especially if she had to walk slightly uphill to the greenhouse, her calves would start to cramp badly. The pain was quite noticeable. She had to stop and wait a couple of minutes for it to pass. Susan was upset. She thought, Well, here it is, getting old. My legs aren't what they used to be, probably just out of shape. She felt annoyed that she couldn't do what she loved as easily as before. It undermined her self-confidence. She even started avoiding some gardening tasks to avoid the pain. It was like her car didn't have enough gas to get up a hill. It starts to sputter and stall. During a routine doctor's visit for another issue, Susan casually mentioned this leg pain. The doctor took it seriously, asked clarifying questions, and ordered tests on her leg arteries. The diagnosis was confirmed: peripheral artery disease. The arteries carrying blood to her legs were narrowed due to atherosclerosis. The doctor explained to Susan that PAD not only causes pain when walking, but is also a serious risk factor for stroke and heart attack, as atherosclerosis is a systemic process affecting blood vessels throughout the body, including the brain. Susan was prescribed treatment to improve blood flow and control cholesterol, and given recommendations for lifestyle changes. The pain when walking significantly decreased, and she could enjoy gardening again. But most importantly, she understood that this pain was not just an age-related inconvenience, but an important signal about the state of her blood vessels. Your arteries are like roads delivering oxygen and nutrients to your muscles. If there are traffic jams, narrowing of vessels on the roads, then the transport, blood, cannot reach its destination on time, causing pain. Don't ignore leg pain that makes you stop. Discuss it with your doctor. It could be the key to preventing more serious problems. But what if the leg doesn't hurt when walking, but sends other, quieter signals? And here we come to that very fifth sign, which, as I promised, often goes unnoticed. Why? Because it seems so insignificant, commonplace. We are talking about one of your legs or feet suddenly or consistently feeling significantly colder than the other, or changing color, becoming pale, bluish, cyanotic, or mottled, marbled. Meet Robert. He was 75 years old and noticed that his right foot was almost always cold to the touch, even in a warm room. Sometimes it looked paler than the left. Robert thought it was just poor circulation, a common thing at his age. He wore warm socks, sometimes used a heating pad. He got used to this feeling and didn't consider it anything serious. So, a cold foot, so what, he thought. It doesn't hurt. He experienced mild discomfort, but no alarm. It was like the quiet, barely audible hum of a faulty appliance, easy to miss or get used to. And that's exactly why this symptom is so dangerous. It's easy to ignore. Everything changed when a home health nurse came for a routine checkup. She noticed the difference in temperature and color of his feet and strongly recommended Robert see a vascular specialist immediately. Robert initially resisted, but the nurse's persistence won. And thank goodness, the examination revealed a critical narrowing of the artery in his right leg, which seriously impaired blood flow. The doctor explained that this not only threatened the future loss of the leg, but was also a sign of a high risk of a blood clot forming, which could break off and travel to the brain, causing a stroke. Robert underwent a procedure to restore blood flow. Do you know how surprised he was when, for the first time in a long time, he felt his right foot was just as warm as his left? But more important was the realization of the danger he had avoided, simply because someone paid attention to this insignificant symptom. A cold-to-the-touch leg, or a change in its color, is not just an inconvenience. It can be an alarm signal about a serious arterial blockage. It's like one room in your house suddenly becoming icy because the heating pipe is blocked, a clear sign of a system problem. Please do not ignore this sign. If you notice this in yourself or a loved one, it's grounds for an urgent consultation with a doctor. And finally, there is one more noticeable, but also sometimes ignored symptom related to the appearance and condition of one leg. This is sudden, unexplained swelling in one leg or ankle. Importantly, just one, without an obvious cause, like an injury. If both legs swell, it's more often related to the heart or kidneys. But if only one leg has swollen, it could be a sign of deep vein thrombosis, DVT. The story of Elizabeth, 69, is very telling. One morning she woke up and saw that her left ankle was very swollen, felt tight, and was slightly sore to the touch. Her right leg looked completely normal. Elizabeth thought maybe she had turned awkwardly in her sleep or bumped it slightly the day before without noticing. She decided to observe it for a day or two, apply some ointment. She didn't like going to doctors, thought it would pass on its own. She felt mild annoyance and bewilderment. Where did this swelling come from? Fortunately, her friend, a former nurse, stopped by that day. Seeing Elizabeth's swollen ankle and hearing that it appeared suddenly and only on one leg, the friend became alarmed. "Elizabeth," she said firmly, "you need to go to the hospital immediately, to the emergency department." Elizabeth tried to object, but her friend was adamant. At the hospital, their fears were confirmed. Elizabeth was diagnosed with deep vein thrombosis in her left calf. A blood clot, a thrombus, had formed in the vein. The doctor explained that this is a very dangerous condition. The clot could break off at any moment and travel with the bloodstream to the lungs, causing a pulmonary embolism, a life-threatening condition, or, less commonly, to the brain, causing a stroke. Elizabeth was immediately started on anticoagulant treatment, blood-thinning medication. She was shocked to learn what danger she had been in by simply deciding to wait. Unilateral swelling is like a warning. Mines, sign on a field. You don't see the clot itself, but the swelling is a visible sign of hidden danger. Remember, sudden swelling in only one leg is not a symptom you can wait on. It requires urgent medical attention. So, we have reviewed these 6 important signals that our legs can send us, warning of a possible stroke. Sudden numbness or weakness on one side, difficulty walking and balancing, a terrible headache with leg symptoms, calf pain when walking, a cold or discolored leg. Remember that often ignored sign, sudden swelling in one leg. Perhaps you feel some anxiety right now, and that's normal. But the main thing I wanted to convey to you today is not fear, but knowledge. Knowledge is your power, your wisdom, accumulated over the years, your invaluable life experience. All this gives you a unique ability to subtly sense your body. Please, do not brush off these signals. Don't attribute everything to age. You deserve to feel good, be active, and enjoy life at any age. Listen to yourself with love and respect. And if something worries you, don't be afraid or ashamed to consult a doctor. Early diagnosis and timely treatment can not only improve quality of life, but also save it. Remember, taking care of yourself is not selfishness, but the greatest value. Take care of yourselves, my dears, and be healthy. You can cope. You can prevent disaster. Believe in your strength and the wisdom of your body.